Well, welcome to Suburban On Air, and it's kind of a reunion for me with one of our guests, Albert Nirenberg, who I first met 32 years ago when he was a young reporter for the Montreal Daily News. You remember that, Albert?
Yes, I do. Yeah, that was, I didn't know it was 32 years ago, but yes, it was a while ago. I do remember.
I remember it because I was working for the Canadian Jewish Congress. Edgar Bronfman, the late Edgar Bronfman, was the speaker. They sent this young reporter with thick glasses, looked like one of the Hanson brothers from Slapshot. He came into the thing, and he wrote a fantastic story. And he's with his daughter, Jane. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you.
And Nick Sheehan. So Nick Sheehan, now why am I introducing these three people? Well, they put together a documentary, which I've just seen, which is absolutely spectacular, funny, interesting. It's going to be on the documentary channel on June 28th at 9 p.m. And the title is Who Farted? That's what it is. So maybe we could start off with Nick, because Nick, you told me that you were working on this for about 10 years. How did this all come about?
That's not terribly unusual for a film to take 10 years to completely end up finished. But from the original idea, it was almost a challenge to make an incredibly popular documentary that would sort of bring in audiences that don't normally like documentaries. And it was just an overview of flatulence around the world, how different societies deal with it and cope with it. But when we tried putting that to the taxpayer-funded institution, they all said, this is terrific, everybody would like to see it, but we can't possibly fund it because people will get angry at us. So enter Bruce Cowley at the CBC, who put me in touch with Albert, who I approached on the subject, and he came up with a rather clever and, well, I think brilliant idea of combining it with the idea of a metaphor for climate change, which is clearly the most pressing issue of our day, pandemic aside. Or after the pandemic, perhaps, and it went from there.
Well, Albert, you've never, when you were a columnist, when you've documented, you don't do your average topics. So this one really is quite something. I mean, did you ever dream you'd be doing a documentary about flatulence?
No, I don't remember having that dream. But yeah, you know, there is a little bit of a straight line here in that I had done several documentaries about laughter. I've been concerned with laughter for many years. And one interesting thing about farting is that there is a theory, and it's in the film, that that all humor may originate in farting. There's a reference to a Sumerian plaque, so a plaque that was uncovered in modern day Iraq that goes back maybe, is it 4,000 years? Quite a long time, which contains a fart joke. It's something along the lines of, what husband has not has not had his wife sit on his lap and fart at an inopportune moment? I think you had to be there to understand the humor, but the idea is that may be the first ever joke. And farts, my theory about farts is that farts are this sort of amazing, I call it a glitch in the matrix, in the sense that when somebody farts, like if we were to fart now, people would not remember anything about this interview except there was like a moment where a guy farted. And it's just this weird kind of shattering of reality that can happen when somebody...
Disruption, yeah.
Yeah, farts. So I realize farting is more than farting, is my statement on the matter.
This is an entirely new education for me, I have to tell you. Jane, now Jane, you did something for this film. You're seen right near the beginning. You were a little bit younger then. You actually did something with your class. So you and your classmates are stars of this film. You were happy and comfortable to do this subject?
At the time I was. It still haunts me a bit, but you know, I'm proud of my dad, and it's cool to look back on that I'm in a movie. You know, like most kids will just have like family photos, but I'll just have a whole documentary that I'm in. And I think it was funnier than it is now. I'm 14, so that's it's not really my humor, but
there's an important distinction here that when Jane was 11, farts were really funny.
Yeah.
But now that she's 14, she's not as funny. But that says a lot about us, the filmmakers, that we still think that farts are funny. So that means we have the emotional age of 11-year-olds, probably.
Yeah. Well, I have a 22-year-old daughter, and 11 years ago, I think it probably would have been funny for her too. Now, Nick, you guys traveled all over the world to film this, including there was a world farting championship you went to. I mean, really, I mean, this stuff can't be made up.
Yeah, Northern Finland. They kind of specialize in these kind of strange contests. Like I think there was a wife throwing, and then there was a sauna contest, but they had to cancel that because somebody died, and they had to stand too long in the sauna. But the world farting competition apparently goes on, and there it is. We had to go for that, and of course we met there the world's most famous flatulist, Mr. Methane. So it was a sort of perfect storm of that we had to be there as documentarians.
Albert, have you made any plans to try to go on the Howard Stern show? Because this is a big subject. I listen to his show all the time on Sirius, and he loves this subject.
You know what? Thanks for mentioning that, because of course we hadn't made any plans, but obviously we should. I mean, yes, I know that fart appreciation is a huge part historically of that show. Yeah, when we were researching the film, people kept pointing us back at Howard Stern.
But we are, of course, climate change, and I'm not sure where Howard is on that, because this is it. Is it climate change or is it farting? Is it farting or is it climate change? And that's what we're playing with here.
Well, there's a Montrealer, part of the writing team. I know him. I did a feature on him last year. I met him in New York City. I went last summer, one of my bucket list items, to the Stern Studios to see it myself. I didn't, unfortunately, meet Howard Stern, but I'm going to share this video with him, and maybe he'll show it to Howard, because I think this is it. And then I'm going to give you, I'll get some royalties, because this is going to go all over the world. It's going to be exciting. Now, Albert, tell me about climate change and how you link this to that subject. And we even see you at the end walking at the climate change rally. Did you try to get Greta to give a comment? Did you go after her?
Yeah, we wrote to her. Yeah, you know, I think she's pretty busy, but yeah, we did write to her. So yeah, in a way, it's both obvious and not obvious. So the reason that my daughter appears in the film is that she had done this presentation, kind of jokingly about farts, which is something kids would find hilarious. But then she realized there's like this weird dark side to the whole story, that farts coming out of cows and ruminants, which are pigs and sheep as well, are at such a high level now that they may be contributing to very, very dangerous runaway climate change. So all of a sudden it's not so funny. And part of the story is that when I was sort of looking comically at farts, and I realized that there's something, there's a dark side, and that's really what sort of sends the story off into, first of all, finding out if it's true, if cows are the real villains, or if we are the real villains, or other parts of culture. So that's why, when the reason the film is called Who Farted is it's actually a genuine mystery. Meaning, if you're trying to look at who, the film is saying that humanity is sort of farting itself to oblivion, but who is actually farting? That's the question. If I wanted to summarize the film, I just summarized it right there.
Jane, though, I'm sure at your age you are into climate change. That's an important subject for you. I see. Is that important for you? Is that something you can talk proudly about, that you want to make sure that's on the agenda?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, since I'm still young, like, that's my future, is whatever is going to happen because of climate change. So if I can talk about it and like follow Greta and stuff like that, that's great. Because also, if I have kids when I'm older, who knows what their lives are going to be like. And it would be kind of unfair if like the past mistakes that caused climate change would just ruin their lives, or mine, or whoever.
Agreed. Nick, you in your travels, you guys had, this is serious. I mean, we're joking around, but it's serious. And you had some pretty well-known politicians worldwide who and authors who came on and gave you their commentaries.
Well, this is interesting, Mike, because one of the things about climate change movies that we wanted to break the mold here is that they often turn people off. They're boring, or just how many, drone shots of ice flows with earnest statistics can we handle? And, Al Gore has done a terrific job of trying to getting it, but now he's become almost a cliche. We do have him in our film, and we're proud of it, along with people like Harrison Ford, who's an activist, and these kind of celebrities. And these voices are important, but in the end, we had to find a way of shaking it up a bit and bringing maybe a newer audience or a fresher audience to the seriousness of the subject. And we figured who isn't at least intrigued by what we're going to do with a fart movie. So that was our thinking.
I was going to say a weird thing about making the film. One of the more shocking scenes for us was actually the kids' presentation. I think when we'd been sort of on the film for a few months, when Jane and her class did this presentation, and we suddenly realized how starkly distressing in a sense it was, because we kind of know the timeline and we have a rough idea of how the gravity of the timeline around climate change, and we are old farts ourselves, so it doesn't so much matter for us. But when you look at kids their age, it's a completely different story. We're really talking about their future or lack thereof, and so that's why one reason why we realized we'd open with that scene, because another middle-aged guy may be worried about climate change. Who cares? But the kids, it's a completely different story.
Yeah, I agree. Albert, my last question for you, then I'm going to go to Nick, is those suits. Where did you get those suits? You wore those suits every scene you were in that serious suit.
I've just made a tradition out of wearing one suit for an entire film. Now I should explain, and usually dry cleaning it a lot, but yeah, the suit has been completely destroyed, partly because I was swimming in the fountains at Trafalgar Square. It might have been the World Farting Championships too, but yeah, the suit is gone. I mean, some of them I've got at Le Chateau. I just get them spontaneously. I'm like, that's the suit, and then that's more or less it. They're not usually fancy.
I like a TV host in a suit, though, don't you think, Mike?
I do. Yes, I do like a TV show host in a suit, absolutely. And I thought Albert looked very, very spiffy, especially when he was standing next to the guy who was, doing his thing in the championships. That opening scene that we saw later on, that's a keeper, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Nick,
Albert definitely took one for the team on that.
He definitely did. Nick, it's going to be on the documentary channel, a documentary channel in Canada. Where else down the line will people be able to see this film?
Oh, well, we're delighted to say we've just sold worldwide distribution to a really terrific Canadian boutique distributor, Sindicato, and they're currently marketing it around the world. Apparently, there's a lot of people are looking for new TV shows to watch because much hasn't been in production, as you know, because of the
absolutely.
pandemic.
I mean, I could see this getting on Netflix.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm not kidding, because even Netflix is running out of things, because they haven't been filming stuff. So are you working, Albert, are you working on anything else right now that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I'm working a couple docs about hypnosis, actually, based on sort of some of the therapeutic work that I've done. But a bunch of those, and I'm still do laughter projects and improv projects. I'm still all in that business as well.
All right. Well, I look forward to it. Everything you do, I gobble up. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. Good luck and stay safe.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you. Great to see you, by the way. Thank you.
All right. Great to see you too.